Another weekend is here again, and you know what time it is. It's time for the only show that gives you the most accurate news and topical stories making headways in China. My name is Makiza Micheline Latifa, your host of China Now. Let's kickstart the show with China Currents, the segment that breaks down into detail the stories that trended the most in China throughout the week. Now, Chinese President Xi Jinping met with US President Joe Biden at the Phyllis Witherell House in San Francisco. The content of this meeting will be presented to you on this segment of the show by Kris, our regular host. Also, China and the United States have jointly issued the Sunnylands statement, reaffirming their commitment to collaborate and tackle climate crisis. Details of these and many other stories are coming up shortly, so stay tuned.
China Currents is a weekly news talk show from China to the world. We cover viral news about China every week and also give you the newest updates on China's cutting-edge technologies. Let's get started. Hi, welcome to China Currents. I'm Kris. On November 14th, Chinese President Xi Jinping touched down at San Francisco International Airport for a significant diplomatic visit, which includes a highly anticipated meeting with US President Joe Biden and his attendance at the 30th Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Leaders Summit. It is Xi's first trip to the United States in 6 years and Biden's second in-person meeting with Xi since assuming office in 2019. Xi's arrival was met with a warm reception. Notable figures from the US side, including Governor of California Gavin Newsom and Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen, extended a cordial welcome to the Chinese leader. Accompanying Xi on the trip are high-ranking Chinese officials, including the Chief of Staff Cai Qi and Foreign Minister Wang Yi. The Chinese ambassador to the United States, Xie Feng, was also present at the airport. Earlier this week, Biden expressed his objective to restore regular communications between the two countries, including military contacts, during his upcoming discussions with Xi. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby informed reporters that Biden and Xi would discuss various topics, including the conflict in Gaza and Ukraine, economic issues, and climate change. The world will watch closely on the outcome of Xi's visit, as it has the potential to shape the trajectory of China-US relations and impact the broader geopolitical landscape. On November 15th, Chinese President Xi Jinping met with US President Biden at the Phyllis Witherell House in San Francisco. Before the formal meeting, there was a lively discussion on Chinese social media about San Francisco's effort to spruce up the city and relocate its homeless population of thousands before President Xi and other APEC leaders arrived. The US side described this as a summit meeting. Whether judged by the unique arrangement, the attention from both countries and international community, or the significance of the meeting, this was a summit of strategic importance with far-reaching impact. It was the two leaders' first face-to-face meeting in a year. President Xi stated that the fundamental question was whether China and US saw each other as partners or rivals, and whether they pursued mutually beneficial cooperation or zero-sum confrontation. He said the right choices in history must be made. Xi elaborated on China's principles regarding Taiwan, stating it was the most important and sensitive issue in China-US relations. China appreciated the US reaffirming its One China policy in Bali. The US should reflect in concrete actions by ceasing arms sales and military support for Taiwan and supporting peaceful reunification. China will and must achieve reunification, Xi stated. The leaders agreed to promote and strengthen dialogue and cooperation in various areas, including establishing an artificial intelligence dialogue, anti-drug cooperation, resuming military-to-military talks, increasing flights, and expanding education, culture, and business exchanges. They also stressed the importance of urgent climate action in this decisive decade and welcomed recent discussion between the climate envoys. On the same day, China and the United States have jointly issued a Sunnylands statement reaffirming their commitment to collaborate and tackle the climate crisis. The statement was released following discussions between China's climate envoy Xie Zhenhua and his US counterpart John Kerry held earlier this year. The two governments outlined the areas focus for their collaboration, which include energy transition, methane reduction, circular economy, and resource efficiency. The statement emphasized that the purpose of the collaboration is to accelerate concrete climate actions through dialogue and cooperation. As part of the efforts, they will restart bilateral dialogues on energy policies and strategies while deepening exchanges on energy saving and carbon reduction solutions. Furthermore, the joint statement reaffirmed their commitment to the goals of the Paris Agreement, which aim to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius and strive to restrict the increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The release of the statement marks a significant milestone in the ongoing efforts to combat climate change. China and the United States, as two of the world's largest emitters of greenhouse gases, have recognized the urgency of the climate crisis and the need for international cooperation to address its impacts. The declaration sends a positive signal to the global community, demonstrating that even amidst geopolitical tensions, countries can come together and tackle shared challenges. Next up, UNESCO. On November 10th, the 42nd section of the UNESCO General Conference passed a resolution to establish an Institute for International STEM Education in Shanghai, China. Institute for International STEM Education is a crucial component of UNESCO, aiming to promote inclusive, equitable, relevant, and quality education in STEM fields from early childhood to adulthood. This marks the first time that UNESCO Category 1 Center is established in China. The Institute for International STEM Education is the 10th Category 1 center established by UNESCO and the first of its kind outside Europe and US. During the deliberations of the UNESCO General Conference's Education Committee, member countries expressed gratitude to China for proposing the establishment of a Category 1 center in Shanghai, viewing it as strong support for UNESCO. Countries commended the work of UNESCO and expressed support for the resolution on establishing the center in Shanghai. Hua Jinping, the head of the Chinese delegation and Minister of Education, stated that China would earnestly fulfill its commitment, fully cooperate with UNESCO to implement the resolution of this General Conference, supporting the Secretariat in preparation work for the Institute, and promote early completion and operation of this Institute. Next up, let's take a look at the marriage rate in China. According to the data from the Ministry of Civil Affairs, a total of 5.7 million couples registered their marriages nationwide in the first 3 quarters of this year, while 1.9 million couples registered for divorce. For comparison, in the first 3 quarters of 2022, 5.4 million couples registered their marriages and 1.6 million couples registered for divorce. Thus, the number of marriage registrations in the first 3 quarters of this year increased by 245,000 compared to the same period last year, and the number of divorce registrations increased by 330,000. In the first half of this year, the number of people getting married in China has rebounded. The Ministry of Civil Affairs data showed that the number of marriages registration nationwide in the first half of this year was 3.9 million couples, an increase of 196,000 compared to 3.7 million couples in the first half of last year. Next up, economy. On November 11th, China's largest online shopping festival, Double 11, came to a close. The gross merchandise volume of e-commerce reached 1.1 trillion yuan, representing year-on-year growth of 2.1%. Among them, the sales volume of comprehensive e-commerce was 277 billion yuan, with Tmall accounting for 60% of the total sales, ranking first, and JD.com and Pinduoduo took up the second and third places respectively, with 27.9% and 7.3% of the sales. In this year's shopping festival, major e-commerce platforms collectively focused on promoting low prices in order to attract more customers. In a current economic slowdown, Chinese consumers become increasingly cautious, and their pursuit of consumer value has become stronger than ever. Attracting consumers and providing a better shopping experience have become crucial challenges for businesses and platforms to address. Next up on technology, on November 14th, Chinese electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft developer Autoflight has announced a significant collaboration with Falcon Aviation Services during the Dubai Air Show, with plans to jointly introduce the first eVTOL touristic, cargo, and air taxi flights in the Middle East and Africa. Autoflight is one of the most advanced eVTOL developers in China, which set a record for the longest single-charge flight by an eVTOL craft in February this year after it traveled 250.3 kilometers. On the other hand, Falcon Aviation Services is a leading business aviation services operator in the Middle East and Africa, and a key player in the UAE government's advanced air mobility strategy. eVTOL aircraft, which boast energy efficiency comparable to electric cars and require no fixed facilities such as airports or runways, offers quieter and more cost-effective transportation options than helicopters, making them well-suited for intracity or inner-city travel. As Middle Eastern countries strengthen their economic ties with China, Chinese aircraft producers are increasing their market share in the region. Earlier this year, Autofly secured a purchase contract with logistics services providers in the Middle East, including 10 cargo eVTOLs that will operate in the UAE and Saudi Arabia. From China to the World, a column written for Autofly's strategic planning highlights the electric aircraft producers' ambition in transportation services. Last but not least, China's Beidou navigation satellite system has been recognized by the International Civil Aviation Organization as meeting the required standards. The Civil Aviation Administration of China confirmed this progress on November 16th. Beidou's technical standards were updated to ICAO's existing standard documents of the Convention on International Civil Aviation for the latest revision, making Beidou a universally accepted navigation system for global civil aviation. China's aviation agency submitted its application to include Beidou into ICAO standards over a decade ago in 2010. The system was tested by ICAO to verify its capability for global aviation navigation and its compatibility with other global satellite navigation systems. By June 2020, the third-generation Beidou 3 system completed its constellation deployment after the final satellite was launched and has been serving over 200 countries and regions since then. Beidou is one of the 4 global satellite navigation systems recognized by the United Nations, alongside with US's GPS, Russia's GLONASS, and EU's Galileo. Similar to other global satellite systems, Beidou has developed 2 levels of position services: open service for civil navigation and restricted service for military use. Currently, the military service of Beidou has been granted exclusively to the Chinese People's Liberation Army and the Pakistan Armed Forces. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Currents. If you have any thoughts and comments about our show, please reach us at the email address below. I'm Kris, looking forward to hearing from you, and see you next time.
And that does it for China Currents. Next up on the show is Threshold with Lisa, where you get all the tech-related updates happening in China. So China has unveiled a breakthrough silent thermoacoustic power generator, which happens to be the world's most powerful thermoacoustic power generator. What really is this about, and what is its viability ratio in terms of being applied in the real world? Lisa is up with all the answers you're seeking, so keep watching.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and this is Threshold in China. Today we are going to share some exciting tech, innovations, and announcements that happened in China recently. China has built the world's most powerful thermoacoustic power generator. Well, what is it exactly? Generally speaking, it is a generator powered by heat and can deliver energy in silent, so it is widely used in industries such as submarines and aerospace, basically when you don't want to be detected. It was created by researchers at the Technical Institute of Physics and Chemistry, TIPC, of the Chinese Academy of Science. In recent tests, their system delivered 102 kilowatts of electricity from a 530 degrees Celsius heat source, and this is the highest power achieved by a 3-piston thermoacoustic Stirling generator. Its 100 plus kilowatts capacity significantly expands potential application from distributed power generation into aerospace. The military in particular value this quiet and efficient technology. Now, Sweden has successfully used this technology in its submarines. Meanwhile, China has also been working on developing Stirling engines for naval applications. Many modern submarines that use air-independent force rely on Stirling engines to provide onboard power. Luo Ertang of TIPC noted it can utilize various heat sources using solar, waste heat, and biomass. Its flexibility and sustainability make it ideal for remote or portable use. Like the classic stirring engine invented back in 1816, it's also a closed system that uses heat to generate power. But unlike traditional Stirling engines, it operates silently by relying on sound waves rather than steam or moving parts. The breakthrough is at its core the thermoacoustic engine. This engine takes the heat and turns it into powerful sound waves using temperature differences. It exposes a gas like helium to uneven temperatures that cause the gas molecules to speed up and slow down repeatedly inside the engine. This oscillating motion of the gas is what generates the intense resonant sound waves that power the generator. The intense sound wave then causes the unattached piston, hence the free piston, inside to move back and forth in a straight line motion. The attached magnet then generates electricity as they shuttle through surrounding coils in the linear alternator. Comparing to traditional Stirling engines and steam plants, the acoustic approach concentrates thermal energy into organized sound waves that can effectively drive the piston. The sound propagation transmits the energy. According to Wu Jianying of TIPC, the current thermoelectric conversion efficiency is about 28%. If the heat source reaches 600 degrees Celsius, efficiency could increase to 34%. Thanks to the innovations in heat transfer, gas sealing, and vibration control, the linear alternator was able to eliminate harmful vibrations while maintaining the vital airtight seal. Because the architecture is very simple, such that there is little moving component, the generator then can operate silently and reliably. While NASA patented a similar system, China has now gone further in translating this technology from concept to reality. At the same time, China has tested another free-piston Stirling engine in space and trying to see if it can be a power source for space stations. However, the way the technology works is a little bit different to what we just described. The full name of this technology is called a free-piston Stirling thermoelectric converter. It directly converts heat energy into electricity by utilizing the thermoelectric effect. During the test, the thermoelectric converter performed in a stable manner throughout the entire process and produced better than expected performance indicators. The potential of this technology lies in its ability to reduce a spacecraft's reliance on solar energy and offers an additional power for upcoming crewed missions and explorations in deep space environments. Previously, we introduced an AI robotic chemist called Xiaolai that can autonomously design, execute, and analyze experiments. It now has a new job to produce oxygen from Martian meteorites. As humans, we dream about moving to other planets like Mars. The first step to take is to overcome the lack of oxygen in the Martian atmosphere. Recently, the team from the University of Science and Technology of China, in collaboration with the National Space Science Center of the Chinese Academy of Science, used Xiaolai to prepare particle oxygen evolution catalysts from Martian meteorites, and they succeeded in producing oxygen. This remarkable achievement can potentially reduce the cost and complexity of human missions, while enabling sustainable explorations by utilizing local Martian resources. While the oxygen required for human activities cannot be replenished in the Martian atmosphere, recent evidence of water activity on the planet has raised hopes for large-scale oxygen production through electrochemical water oxidant processes. This process relies on an oxygen evolution reaction (OER) catalyst to lower the energy barrier to make water splitting more efficient. Theoretically, solar electrolysis with an effective catalyst could yield fuel and oxygen using local resources. Can this be achieved on Mars? AI seems to provide the perfect solution. Xiaolai analyzed the mineral composition of Martian meteorites using onboard laser-induced breakdown spectroscopy. It combines machine learning models with theoretical simulations and experimental data to automatically and rapidly identify the optimal catalyst formula. The entire process is carried out by AI from the pre-treatment of the Martian ore to the synthesis, characterization, and testing of the catalyst. It then ran 203 experiments on its own over a 6-week period. The optimal catalyst formula was identified from over 3 million possibilities. It could take over 200 years if human chemists relied on trial and error. Producing oxygen from native Martian materials represents a pivotal step towards building habitable areas on Mars. In this study, the team stimulated Martian conditions to the maximum. With Martian catalysts covering the roof of a 300 cubic meter module, after 15 hours of solar power electrolysis, the oxygen levels are sufficient for human survival. It seems that this breakthrough AI technology is bringing us closer to sustainable explorations and settlement on the Red Planet. And that is all for today's Threshold. We hope you like this new section on science and technology in China. As usual, we welcome your feedback and thoughts.
Very interesting updates on science and technology. Thanks, Lisa. But here's where we shift focus to Thinkers Forum, where our thinkers and scholars will share with us their brightest ideas about China and its relations with the rest of the world. Today's edition continues with the excerpts from the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation, which was held in Beijing in October 2023. Irina Bokova is the former Director-General of UNESCO, and here's her submission during the forum.
And I think that the celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative invites us again to engage in a global debate about living together in peace and mutual understanding in a fragile world. A world that confronts global challenges of unprecedented magnitude, intensity, and complexity. Climate change, conflict, and shifting geopolitical global scene, the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic that impacted virtually every aspect of human life in the world: political, economic, financial, educational, environmental, cultural, and technological. Let me from the very beginning state that all of these challenges testify to the fact that the world is interdependent and no one country can overcome them by itself. Unilateral approaches are not the response today. Collective knowledge, effort, and commitment are indeed needed. Against this background, let me emphasize that China has emerged as an indispensable and critical player in the world that confronts not only global challenges, but the need to look for responses that are equally global, that respect the interests of all. What in fact is the objective of the United Nations Agenda for Sustainable Development and its main goal: leave no one behind. And in this respect, I would like to mention the capacity of the Belt and Road Initiative as an important partner in the implementation of the SDG agenda, which has been widely recognized by the United Nations. This morning, the Secretary-General Antonio Guterres spoke about that, and I would like to quote his words during the initiative's second summit, when he said, he drew a comparison between China's One Belt and One Road initiative and the goals of sustainable development that are both rooted in one vision. And Secretary-General Guterres said both strive to create opportunities, global public goods, and win-win cooperation, and both aim to deepen connectivity between countries and regions, connectivity in infrastructure, commerce, finance, politics, and perhaps most importantly, between people. Let me add that China embraced enthusiastically the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal and adopted immediately its own plan of achieving the 17 SDGs. It was preceded, of course, by an impressive economic and social development. Since the beginning of the reforms in China, a little more than four decades ago, China has lifted more than 730 million people out of poverty, by the year 2015, accounting for over 70% of global poverty reduction accomplishments. And what is remarkable in the Chinese economic miracle is that the government has made human development the focus of its policy. It has implemented strong and targeted economic and social policy to ensure that no one is left behind. And albeit the COVID-19 pandemic, China reached the goal of the targeted poverty alleviation campaign launched in 2017, completely eliminating extreme poverty, 10 years ahead of the Agenda 2030. So today, rescuing the Sustainable Development Goals has become the paramount challenge of our era as we confront the cascading crises that threaten our very existence. The clock is ticking, yet sadly, our collective response has fallen tragically short of the urgency required to attain the goals. And Secretary-General Antonio spoke very convincingly this morning about it. It is undeniable that we are careening off course with the latest forecasts ominously predicting that not a single nation will meet the ambitions of the goals by the year 2030. The gravity of the situation demands immediate and decisive action to steer us back on track and ensure a sustainable future for generations to come. And I see here, once again, the contribution of the Belt and Road Initiative. China has a lot to offer to the world when it comes to sustainable development, and China has the responsibility to share this with the world. The 10th anniversary reminds me about President Xi's visit to UNESCO in March 2014, when I was Director-General of the organization, and his landmark speech, when he said, "Spanning thousands of miles of years, the ancient Silk routes embody the spirit of peace and cooperation, openness and inclusiveness, mutual learning and mutual benefit. We should foster a new type of international relations featuring win-win cooperation. We live in a world with different cultures, ethnic groups, skin colors, religions, and social systems, and the people of various countries have become members of an intimate community of shared destiny." I see still the Belt and Road Initiative in its focus on cultural exchanges, on cooperation in education, in the sciences, as a renewal of the Silk Road, which seeks to build trust and confidence and understanding between peoples and countries along its route, as another soft power infrastructure to provide mostly the younger generation with the knowledge, values, and openness of mind to shape more inclusive and peaceful societies, to master the language of diversity. Over millennia, the wondrous story of the Silk Road, from Xi'an to Venice, has been one of encounters between people, cultures, religions, and knowledge. These encounters have shaped civilizations over the ages, catalyzing inventions, fertilizing intellectual scholarship. They gave birth to literary and scientific treasures, to traditions and artistic practices that have been passed across generations. And the story of the Silk Road is closely linked to one of the fantastic ideas that UNESCO launched in the 20th century, the idea of world heritage, the most visionary, transformative, and positive idea. This is the idea that humanity stands united in all its diversity across shared values, the idea that all cultures are different, but that differences does not divide, it unites. And I believe the history of the Silk Road through Baghdad, Samarkand, Palmyra, Nineveh, Balkh, and dozens more historic places and sites shows us that the achievements of great civilizations mingled together and influenced each other. They bear the proof that the dialogue among cultures, the fruitful exchange and the mutual respect between the East and the West had existed and had produced from the beginning the best that humanity has. The new Global Civilization Initiative launched by President Xi Jinping earlier this year reflects, I believe, such a vision and strengthens Chinese leadership in promoting dialogue among civilizations, enhancing cultural diversity, and building a harmonious world, providing a good solution for all of us to meet common challenges of humanity. This initiative invites us once again to reconfirm the commitment to UNESCO's Declaration on Cultural Diversity, which said, as a source of exchange, innovation, and creativity, cultural diversity is as necessary to humankind as biodiversity is for nature. I'm confident that this forum will take forward these ideas, and I'm very much looking to our continued discussions. Thank you for your attention.
Right, let's stay a bit further on the Thinkers Forum, but this time around, we turn to the former President of Croatia, Ivo Josipovic.
It's, I think, completely clear that economical effects of Belt and Road are really huge. It's very important for China because China is developing itself, but also for all other participating countries, 150 countries. There was a very nice presentation showing changement in global markets, and it was some kind of cartoon. And it was showing how in last 20 years, more and more, quicker and quicker, China is starting to dominate not only in Asia, but also in Africa, and being engaged in other countries, like in Europe. I'm from a small country, small is beautiful, small country that have experience with China One Belt and One Road. Not many projects up to now, but one is finished. It's a very important bridge in our country, and it's beautiful. Bridge is beautiful. It was created and it was realized in very, very short terms. We were surprised. Chinese needed less time to build the bridge than with some additional roads, small roads. It was really, really impressive, and the highest official of Croatia and Prime Minister of China were opening this bridge, and that was for us a very important experience. So after this, there are some other engagements, and I really believe that in future Croatia and China are going to participate in Belt and Road projects more and more, in spite there are some obstacles. About obstacles a little bit later. So, a really important influence for Chinese economy, a really important influence on economies of many, many countries in the world, and of course, as it was mentioned before, to global economy. So, thank you, friends from China, being generator of economical prosperity. We need it now because we know that these days, global economy is going down because of wars, because of many refugees, because of human tragedies and bad politics. Politicians are always responsible for what's happening in the world, and those wars we are witnessing are really tragedy. Following this politics, I have to mention political side of Belt and Road project. Political side means that 20 or 30 years ago, 20 years ago, there were some other countries promoting globalism. And China was not always included, it was a little bit closed from the other trends. And those countries, developed countries, promoted globalism, among the other reasons, because they were superior on the market. They are not superior anymore on the market, and they are not promoting globalism. Now they promote protectionism, and it's wrong, because finally such a big movement as Belt and Road, led by so important economy, second world economy and world economy, I'm very sure it will be first very soon, it's not possible to prevent it, because it's supported by all those countries having good effects from the projects. So Belt and Road is connected also to globalism. It's connected to multilateralism as well. And as it was said previously, I hope that Belt and Road can help recovery of international organizations, primarily United Nations. Unfortunately, international organizations, especially UN, are losing their power, losing authority, and of course, there are lack of initiatives and accepted projects by UN. UN will, I hope, never completely lose their possibility to lead the world, but unfortunately, we are now facing with a really important decrease of power with UN. Politically speaking, definitely the political influence is moving from west to the east. It can be seen in Africa. Almost all African countries were somehow connected with European countries and United States. Now they are moving to China, to some other countries, and is it bad or good? If it's good for those countries, it's good for me as well. So it's very important to understand that dispersing power, not being dependent of any huge power, but having autonomy in development and democracy in decisions, it's positive for African countries. I'm deeply convinced in this. On political level, it's definitely clear for me that having common projects, we saw some of them, beautiful projects all around the world, we are decreasing possibility to start different wars. Because finally, at the end, in principle, the war starts because of economy. And if we make our economy stronger, if we have our cooperation on high level, then possibility to war is very low. My friend Boris Tadic and I belong to countries who had war 30 years ago. What was the key element of our reconciliation? It was economical cooperation, contacts between people, and hope that we can live together. I think we are on the good track, not going always up, but going ups and downs, but generally going in the better future. So, I would like also to stress the other effects and I think possibilities and characteristics of Belt and Road. In principle, before Belt and Road, the trade was just trade. We have products, we have projects, and we are going to sell you. But Belt and Road is something even more. Belt and Road is followed by cultural cooperation. In Croatia, we have Chinese Institute now, we have cultural exchange, we have theaters, we have exhibitions, and we are going closer and closer. So Belt and Road is not just economy, it's primarily, of course, economy, but also it's cultural exchange. And it's also scientific and technical exchange. So Belt and Road is contributed to knowledge, to cultural and global communication and understanding between people and cultural that were not before so close and equipped with knowledge about each other. So on this very day when not only China, I think all of us are celebrating 10 years of Belt and Road Initiative. I have to congratulate to China. I have to congratulate to all countries to participate in this project, being convinced that One Belt and the Belt and Road Initiative will have probably soon brothers and sisters, neighbors, other initiatives functioning on this noble and very good day. Thank you very much.
And here's where we draw the curtains on today's edition of China Now. Many thanks for watching. My name is Makiza Micheline Latif, and I hope you enjoyed every bit of the show. Don't forget to send in your comments, thoughts, feedback, and suggestions through the email provided below. See you same time next week.